Morning guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed the new footage that we had from the track day, different views, and trying to grow for you guys. Today we are back at home. This is now Tuesday, and we do need to get this thing ready for the next track day. Now what that means, we are going to have to pull the motor out of the car. We need to put a new gasket on it, as I have spoke to about before. So when I say gasket, that does mean head gasket for those of you that don't know. We did push through the coolant. When I came back from the run, the cap was off on the reservoir and it had pressurized the system. So, and you guys, as you saw, it had some vaping going outside. So pretty small failure. Normally with this style of gasket, we'll see issues where it will start ballooning the radiator here, and obviously from the pressure in the coolant system, but a pretty small failure. That's why I'm led to believe that it is from getting overheated. So we are in the garage today. It is a freaking windstorm out there. It looks nice out, but you guys would kill me with how much wind it is. So we're gonna dive into this today, see how easy it is to get this thing apart. I think that it's gonna be a little bit harder than what I had originally intended it for, just because of all our added new fuel lines. We do have another sub harness for this secondary set of injectors here. So I think that some things are gonna be a little bit more difficult, but in the end, our turbo kit can stay on the car, and it should be very similar to when we used to pull that car apart. So I'm gonna get started. I already drained the fuel out of the fuel cell up here, and we're gonna get this thing in the air, get going. I'm gonna put you guys on a time lapse, and let's get this thing tore apart. Moving moving right along. We got this thing ready to go. I got the chain on it. We're getting ready to pull this thing out of here. Looks pretty simple once you get all the stuff off of it. As you guys can see, it does take a little bit of time just because we did have that dual injector set up there. So there's a lot of fuel lines up here, and we did have it look pretty clean, having all the wire tucked everywhere. So as you guys just saw, we had that header that had quite a bit of water in it. Obviously that's what we're running in the car, is water. So a little bit more of a failure than I would have liked to had, but it's not one that I haven't had before. So we're gonna, like I said, get this thing out of here. I'm gonna get the heads off. We're all gonna do it all in one video for you guys. I'm not gonna break this thing up. I'm gonna grab the cherry picker right now, open this door. Like I said, it is pretty windy out there, so I'll probably just do a quick time lapse getting this thing out of here, and then we can go ahead, get these heads tore off, see what happened. You guys can see exactly what failed on here, which obviously is gonna be the head gasket. It's gonna be those Firelock rings. I'm gonna assume that one's not round anymore, or we pushed through one, or we might have pushed one through the side of the head. So we'll see. Like I said, let's get this thing out of here. We're making some good progress here, and I did notice when I pulled the spark plugs out of cylinder number 4 over here that it had been burned in a different manner than what you normally see, and that was a good example of where our issue is. So you can see here that it had obviously went underneath this fire ring, and that would be our problem, is right there. So very small, very minor. The ring is still round. You can see here on cylinder number 2 we had a similar issue there where it went past that ring, and this is a coolant passageway right there. So I mean, for how these head gaskets go, and a lot of people that do run these know that when they fail, they usually fail pretty badly. So this is a pretty soft failure. You can guys see this thing is still round. Now that I have a camera that will focus. So that one's round. That one there, you actually, you guys aren't gonna be able to see this, but if you watch when I put my finger, this thing is actually pretty warped. And that concludes my theory for the type of failure I'm seeing here. I think that the head's warped from when it got overheated in Texas due to me not having that radiator fan on the car, and even the other one wasn't turning on, even though we had one on it, but it wasn't set up into the Motec to turn on. So the car obviously overheated at that point, and when you pull up to the line, guys, and you're in this kind of car, do you really think you're sitting there watching a temp gauge? I sure am not. So maybe one of you guys is, but I sure am not, and I wasn't watching. So then when I was at the end of my pass, I looked over, saw it was on the H all the way up, guys. So it did in fact overheat. I think that's why we're having this issue right here. So don't fully blame the gasket. You know, obviously we are making quite a bit of power, but this was still turned down, and this is on less power than I've seen a failure with. So I do believe with seeing that ring, how it's out of formation there, where it's kind of, you can push back and forth and it's warped. I'm going to say that that's what that's from. Whether it's true or not, we won't know until we put the car back together, and you know, there's a chance that we'll push through another gasket. That's just comes with it with this type of car. You know, we're in an area that's called the 1%, and a lot of people refer to that, where you guys aren't pushing the cars like we are, and this car obviously I'm going to be pushing to keep growing and keep going. So I'm going to get the other side of this thing tore apart, take that head in. I'm going to take it to cylinder head service like you guys always know. Matt will let me know if the head is not flat, so obviously if it warped it a little bit, and he'll know when he decks the head. So I'll be able to relay that over to you guys. That's obviously not going to be in this video, but let's get the other head off and we can get all wrapped up for today and get these heads up there so we can try to make the event this weekend. I got a truck running in the background, so you guys might hear that. We did get the cylinder head off. The camera was being kind of weird, so I'm not sure if it caught it or not, but here it is. We do have it off here. And the biggest thing that you worry about having this thing sit, and the reason why we pulled this thing apart so quickly, is because you can see, right? Oh, of course, I get the head stud right in there. Hopefully this will focus on that. You can see a little bit of rust, surface rust there, but you can see it just wipes away with my hand here, thankfully. So we wanted to get that thing pulled apart as quickly as it could, so that way the cylinders don't rust, because obviously water in a cylinder is going to rust. So we got that part. You can see here, here's the ring. This one and this one here are still round, but we can see we have same issue there and here. Now before we attack, you know, Subarus and head gasket failures, the head gasket on this car is a test gasket. We're trying something different with it, and I'm not sure if it's working with these rings. So obviously we use fire locks and fire rings. This gasket has a couple things that are different about it. I'm not going to go into detail yet, but I can tell you that we are testing things, and I'm constantly trying to test things for you guys. Me and Outfront work pretty close on doing different things to see if they work, and you know, this is one of the things that I just don't think is working very well. I don't think we're getting enough clamping pressure on this fire ring, because it's not out of round, so that tells me it's not clamping it as hard as the previous one. So I think I'm gonna put the previous gasket on the car, which I have a set here just in case. He sent me a backup set, so thank you, Jeremy, for doing that. That way I have that. But even looking at like the block on here, guys, usually you get a distinctive ring on there where you can, it locks in, and there really isn't on this ring. So I just don't think this ring's grabbing it as hard as I would want it to. So that's part of testing, guys. That is what we're going to go through to try to figure out how we get the 7s. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of testing, and I don't want anyone to get it confused. I didn't build the car thinking it was going to go 7s right off the trailer. We built the car with a goal of a 7-second quarter mile time in our head. Whether it happens this year or next year, I'm not too sure. You know, we got to work through the problems of a new car. This thing's a completely new car. We finally got our first pass in it. Now we just need to make our adjustments and get the car to work on the short track. Then we can add in more power, because we have plenty of power to add to the car. It went 161, which is the same trap that went, at a lot less power on this car. So, and not so much, we have a lot more room to go. You know, that car we were pretty much at its limit, and especially at the fuel system, we were beyond its limit. So this car, we have lots of headroom to go on fuel, and we have a lot more room to go as far as power goes. So it did trap over 1,000 wheel at that 161, so that makes me really happy. We did have the car turned down for that track day. We're just trying to get it to go A to B. We have plenty of power to add back in, but we're going to need a gasket that's going to hold that power. So let's hope that by switching back to our previous gasket, that is going to resolve this problem, because I can tell you right now that these just don't seem like they're grabbing hard enough. And there is the other side of it, that overheating it could have warped that other ring. But seeing that I have the same issue on this side and this ring isn't warped, I think it's just going to be the fact of us testing this range. So that's part of it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed kind of seeing what's going on, and you know, I'm being completely transparent with you guys and showing you the failures that we're going through to get this thing further dialed in. I really hope that we can make it to the race event this weekend. Like I said, today's Tuesday. I'm gonna get these heads rushed off. He's gonna get them decked. I could probably have the heads back tomorrow and we could get this thing together. So I don't wanna think that he's able to get them in, but let's hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get them back as soon as we can. And we got plenty of other work to do anyways in the meantime. So I'll catch you guys into the next video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Living life up in the fast lane. Hey. Living life up in the fast lane. And I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down. Living life up in the fast lane. Pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground. Living life up in the fast lane. Life, throw you lemons, you just put them in Coronas. Coronas, Coronas. I've been working, I need that advance with the bonus, the bonus, the bonus. Ain't no thoughts about tomorrow, I'm just living in the moment, the moment, the moment. Full tank of gas and 200 on the dash, bitch, I'm zoning, I'm zoning, I'm zoning. Fast lane, living life up in the fast lane. Hey. Living life up in the fast lane. And I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down. Living life up in the fast lane. Pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground.